Hello and welcome to Top Gear India. Today we have with us the exciting new Hyundai Exter, and we're in the Pink City. That's this lovely blue car over here. We're at the Leela Palace, so beautiful looking palace with the little beautiful looking bluish Hyundai Exter. Now, do forgive my voice, I do have a bit of a cold, but I couldn't miss the opportunity of driving the all-new Exter, which is why I'm here. So, why does the Exter exist? There's already a sub 4 meter car in the Hyundai venue, and essentially the Exter is targeted at youngsters, younger buyers that don't or cannot afford the venue but want the practicality, want the space, want the SUV stance, and this is supposed to be the gateway for them to buy a Hyundai SUV, essentially, making the Hyundai SUV proposition a lot more accessible to them. Now, who does the Exter compete with? It competes with the likes of the Citroën C3 and the Tata Punch. Now, in terms of looks, let's talk about the appearance of the Exter over here. It takes a slightly different design language compared to the Venue or the Creta, for that matter. And a lot of people say that this looks a bit like a Defender. I personally don't see it because the Defender is a lot bigger. Like the Defender's bonnet is like here. So yes, but I do see the subtle similarities. However, I wouldn't exactly call this a Defender look-alike. Slight little similarities. Now, I really like the headlamp design, these H-shaped headlamps that you have over here. In typical Hyundai fashion, they've tried to integrate the headlamp into the bumper, which is something that I'm not a fan of, but with the Exter, it is growing on me a little bit. Now, you get this Exter logo here written in bold. You get a big Hyundai logo, and I think it's a bit too big for my taste. I would have personally liked all of this not to be chrome and to be black. I think this would have looked a lot sexier and gone with the monochrome design of the blue and black. But yeah, I mean, the rest of it is quite impressive. You get a skid plate over here. Now the thing is that Hyundai was trying to push this as a car that's a bit more off-road friendly. Personally speaking, in first appearance, first glance, I don't really see it being that. I see it's definitely made for the urban jungle, not for their jungle. I like the little black inserts. The black grille over here looks really nice to me. Now, kudos to Hyundai for giving a bit of vibrant color options with this vehicle, as opposed to trying to just like give you the same shade of grey and white and black. And sure, you can get grey and white and black, but you get 7 color options, out of which 3 of them are dual tone options. So this blue, the khaki and the white are 3 of the dual tone options that you can get. You can also get them in single tone. Now, in terms of appearance, I quite like the Exter. It's actually a bit bigger than I expected. Compared to the Citroën and the Punch, it definitely has more road presence, especially in this blue finish. But when you actually stand next to the car, you realize it's not as tall as you might have expected it to, or what it may have seemed like in the photos. Now, if you come along the side over here, I'm not such a huge fan of the wheel design. You see the wheel is kind of small, so it just looks a bit too... It just looks like there's too much happening over here. It's 15 inches, so these are diamond cut alloy wheels, but if they were slightly bigger, I think it would have looked better. But because they're so small, they end up looking a bit too busy. I'm not a huge fan of the Smart Auto badge too. It's a bit too big, and yeah, I mean, honestly, the car could have done without it. It looks much better without it. I don't know why it's there, but it is what it is. Marketing, I guess. Now, like the rest of the design over here, it's very similar to what you find on the Hyundai Tucson, where you see the strong shoulder line over here, shoulder line in the rear over here, and you've got like muscular arches. But on this one over here, the arches don't bulge out as much. They are a bit more sculpted and muscular, but not really. On this one, it looks like it's on steroids, but not the expensive kind. But yeah. I like what they've done with this whole parametric design that Hyundai has taken from the Ioniq, and they've integrated this parametric design in different places, in the front grille, on the side over here, in the rear, inside the car. So they're kind of following a bit of a theme where they're taking bits and pieces from the cars higher up in the price range. But yes, I like this. It kind of makes the C-pillar look a bit more happening than it is. I like the roof rails on top. It gives the vehicle a bit more of a taller proportion, makes it feel a bit more outdoorsy and utilitarian. Now let's come along to the rear and I'll tell you about it. Alright, so the rear of the Exter over here is something I quite like. It looks quite nice. I like the edge-shaped tail lamp design over here that they've taken from the front. It looks quite classy and minimal over here. I would have liked a bit more LED in the back, like with the indicators and stuff, but it's okay. It's a minor gripe that I have. The parametric design over here follows, and it creates a nice blend of blue and black over here, with the silver sort of like diffusing it just a little bit. The skid plate over here. Now, This car has a lot of skid plates around and a bit of cladding, but I'm not so sure how off-road ready this car actually is. It's like watching a supermodel with hiking boots on, you know? I mean, not exactly off-road ready is what you would think. However, I think I should save my opinion for when I actually drive this car off-road to know just how capable this car is. The rest of the design over here, simple, clean, minimal. You get a nice little spoiler over here. You get a shark fin antenna to make this car appear a bit more sportier. The boot capacity. Now, I have loaded it with all of our luggage, and as you can tell, we fitted it in quite well. And I would reckon that you could pack for at least a week's worth of trip over here. I mean, if you're not a huge family, but if you are a car full of people, if you're 5 passengers with a lot of luggage, then I'm not so sure if this boot would suffice. You guys would probably have to pack light. But otherwise, yeah, it's a nice little compact car, and surprisingly utilizes its compact dimensions quite well to liberate as much room on the inside as possible. So let's step on the inside and now I'll show you what the back seat actually looks like. Now, you know, even though in terms of length, width and height, it is very similar, just slightly above or below the Tata Punch and the Citroën C3. In terms of wheelbase, it is 5 mm more than the Tata Punch, and that 5 mm more, you can feel it. I mean, now the driver's seat is set to my driving position, and I'm about 6 feet for reference, so I still have this much amount of knee room over here. I've got plenty of headroom above me. Shoulder room also seems quite sufficient. There's no headrest for the center passenger, though there is a seat belt for a center passenger, and that's okay. I mean, the people that sit in the center are your least favorite anyway, so you don't really want to make them the most comfortable. But yeah, all in all, this is a nice place to be. I really like how airy the cabin is. You've got nice large windows, and overall, I think for a college-going kid or a group of friends or even a small family, this is quite a comfortable place to be. The back seat is nice. The seat is not too upright. It's got a good amount of recline, and yeah, can't really have any complaints. I'm quite happy with the back seat of the Exter. Now let's get in the front. Let's talk about the front interior, and let's see what Hyundai has done to make the Exter special. Alright, now driving the Hyundai Exter, powered by a 1.2 litre Kappa 4-cylinder petrol engine that makes about 83 bhp of power and 114 Nm of torque, which is on par with very similar, in fact slightly more than what the Tata Punch does. However, while most other vehicles in the segment are 3 cylinders, this one over here is a 4-cylinder. So when you drive it at cruising speeds, right now I'm in 5th gear, the engine is revving at about 1600 RPM, and again, quiet, nice. It's a very comfortable cabin. Not a lot of outside noise coming in, not a lot of road noise, tire noise. So in that way, NVH levels are quite nice over here. But it's only when you floor it that NVH levels start to take a toss. So right now, I floor it. It reacts really quick. But can you hear the engine? It's quite loud and audible, and it doesn't sound very enthusiastic to be pushed. In fact, it sounds like it's struggling a bit. However, when you compare it to the Punch, yes, unlike the Punch, this has a lot more punch than the Punch. It is punchy enough that you wouldn't need it. On the highway especially, it's really nice. In the city, I think it should be good enough. We've been averaging about 9.5 kilometers per liter, and I'd reckon that if you drive this more sedately and calmly, you could squeeze as much as about 12 to maybe 13 kilometers per liter. Now earlier I did say that this looks like a supermodel with hiking boots on, and I actually did take the car off-road for a little bit, and I gotta say I was wrong. It can actually off-road, guys. The ride quality is quite good off-road actually. My only doubt is with how good the front-wheel drive the drivetrain can handle off-roading. But as long as you're not putting it in some really tricky stuff, mild dirt roading, trails, stuff like that, yeah, this can do it. This can handle it. So if you decide to take your friends and go out into the wilderness, as long as it's not too wild, sure, the Exter can handle it. Now, coming to the interior, let's talk a bit more about the interior over here. Now, this interior is a very familiar place to anyone that has already been inside a Hyundai car. It's got the same design philosophy. It's got very similar. So like the steering wheel, again, it's straight off an i20 or an i10. The dash, the center dash over here, again, very reminiscent of what you find on a Venue. everything, the layout. The only thing that makes it a bit more special, in fact, even the tachometer and then the speedometer over here is straight out of a venue, which I don't personally like. I would have much rather preferred analog because this digital meter is a bit harder to read. I would have just preferred a rev gauge, but it's okay. I feel like it's a personal preference, and my personal preference is just elsewhere. So to keep with the theme, what Hyundai has done essentially is color coded the interior with the exterior color. So say this is a blue color on the outside, so the interior, as you can tell, there's little tints of blue everywhere on where the stitching on the seat. You've got a little extra embossing on the seat over here. You've got a little bit of blue around the AC vents and everything, and blue in little places. In fact, even the footwell is illuminated, and you've got aluminum pedals over here. So I feel like this car does feel quite premium, especially when you see what you get with the Citroën or with Tata for that matter. It definitely feels a cut above them. You also get a sunroof, and it's quite a decent sized sunroof. Enough for your kid to fit through, although I wouldn't recommend it, but enough just to give you a reference, depending on how big your kid is. But yes, headroom again more than sufficient, and it's a roomy place to be. I don't really have any complaints, and yeah, sure, there's plastics here, but they don't necessarily feel cheap. And kudos to Hyundai to maintain that quality while giving you something that is a lot more affordable and a lot more competitive with its competitors in terms of the kind of features you get and the kind of package you're getting at the price. So now let's talk about the gearbox. Now this is an AMT gearbox. It's a 5-speed AMT, and if you leave it to do its own business, it's actually quite nice. Floor it and it instantly responds. Like right now it's in 5th gear. If I floor it, instantly it drops to 2nd gear, which is a very well programmed gearbox. Kudos to Hyundai to make an AMT feel that quick and responsive. However, when your vehicle is upshifting, you will feel that little bit of a slight lag, and the typical children's crossing ahead theme that follows with every Hyundai car. I don't know where it's spotting kids, but it seems to see kids everywhere, and even on this empty road ahead, it can spot children, and it's telling me that there are children crossing ahead. But jokes aside, everything else seems quite nice. I think to me the best part is to shift the gearbox into manual mode and use the pedal shifters over here, because again, the pedal shifters, the gearbox is very responsive. Right now I'm in 5th gear, press it, instantly I'm in 4th gear, and I really like that response. It doesn't take time, it very quickly changes. In fact, it doesn't act like an AMT, which is very unlike it. But yeah, only the upshift is when you feel a slight wallow, but that's okay. I think that's negligible given that it's an AMT. But apart from that, I have no complaints. Quite a nice package. On the road, the suspension feels really well. It's plush, it rides well. Now, the streets of Rajasthan are generally quite nice. My only problem is the steering. I don't really like the steering feel as much, and the steering seems a bit too delayed. Like, I have to turn it a bit too much to get it to react. Like, look right now, there's like a bit of a dead feel to it. I'm like playing with the steering wheel right now, and it's not really responding all that much. And I wish the steering was a bit more responsive, especially given that this car is targeted at the youth, and it's going to be there is going to be an enthusiast at some point behind the wheel who is going to notice this. But apart from that, yeah, it's quite nice. Visibility all around is really good. You've got massive glass area everywhere. The mirrors could have been slightly bigger, but that's okay. I think they just take a bit of getting used to. Now the dash cam seems to be the talk of the town, and Hyundai is big praises to themselves about being the first in a segment to give you a dash cam as standard. Now, a dash cam to me is like airbags. It's something you don't really need until you need it. So until you don't need it, it just feels like, oh, why do I need so many airbags? Why do I need this? Until the day you actually need it. And I think the dash cam is a very good inclusion, especially in our country, knowing the way pedestrians are, knowing the way traffic is. A dash cam is quite handy. In fact, this dash cam can also allow you to take selfies. So, if you're with your girlfriend or with your friends or you're vlogging or something, yeah, I think the dash cam is a nifty little gimmick over there that is quite handy for our streets. So kudos to Hyundai for including that. Also now, Hyundai gives this car 6 airbags as standard, which is quite nice. There is no NCAP safety rating just yet out there, but Hyundai says that they have done their best to make sure that this is the best in its segment in terms of safety, be it in the choice of materials or how they have strengthened the chassis or how they've set up the car. So all in all, no complaints with the build quality. I like the features. I like that it's feature loaded. I like that it has features that other cars don't have. And I think for anyone entering the segment, it's a no-brainer. It's just down to aesthetics then. Do you like the looks of the Hyundai Exter? If yes, then I can't think of a better proposition. Of course, the only thing I would say is if you are an enthusiast and your priority is driving dynamics, then maybe the Citroën C3 will appeal to you slightly more, especially the engine that makes about 110 horsepower. I think that to me feels so much more punchier. This has a 0 to 100 of about 12 seconds, which is supposed to be the fastest in its segment. But I don't think it could be faster than the Citroën C3 with turbocharged 1-liter engine. So yes, that is all of this, the driving experience. In a nutshell, I didn't get a chance to test the audio system, and perhaps if I do test it, you can find our written review out in our magazine and our website to read more in depth about it. But as of now, I'm quite impressed with what Hyundai has done. And again, see, it sees children where there are no children. Where are the kids? But yeah, that aside, it's fuel efficient, it's simple, it's comfortable, and I think that's what most people in this segment would want. So kudos to Hyundai for that, and let's move on to the verdict. Launched at an introductory price of Rs 6 lakhs, the Hyundai Exter sits on par with the Tata Punch. But unlike the Tata Punch, it has a lot more features to offer, a lot more safety tech that comes as standard, and I think it's a bit more of a vibrant and a roomier package. Sure, both of them are targeted at a similar audience per se, whereas the Tata Punch to me seems to be a bit more well-rounded and targeted at more of a matured audience. Whereas the Hyundai Exter, I think, is a lot more youthful, it pops a lot more, the interior has a lot more features, a lot more tech, and I just think overall, this to me seems like the better package. Sure, we would have to get both of them together to have a proper comparison, but after driving it, the driving experience, the ride quality, the interior, all around, I think Hyundai has made quite a fantastic proposition over here for anyone looking for a compact SUV. And you cannot go wrong with the Exter, especially when it's priced so competitively. Thank you so much for watching. Stick around to our YouTube channel for further such updates. And this is Gavin Rodriguez, heading off into the wilderness.